All right, if you're an IT pro, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are some commands that are just second nature. But what happens when one of those core tools, one you've used for years, just goes away? Well, that's what we're talking about today. We're diving into the end of an era for the Windows Management Instrumentation command line, you know it as WMIC.
Yeah, this quote from a sysadmin on Reddit, it just hits the nail on the head. WMIC BIOS get serial number is straight up muscle memory. I mean, how many times have we all typed that? For decades, WMIC has been that go-to, quick and dirty tool for grabbing system info right from the command line. It's something so many of us just do without even thinking. But yeah, that era, it's officially coming to a close.
And here it is, the official news. Microsoft is pulling the plug on the WMIC.exe tool. So, starting with new installs of Windows 11 version 24H2, it's just not going to be there by default. And if you're upgrading to 25H2, it's actually getting removed. This isn't just some minor patch, folks. This is a really fundamental shift in how we do Windows automation.
So, to really get a grip on the impact here, we kind of have to look back a bit. Because, this change didn't just happen overnight.
And honestly, this shouldn't be a huge shock to anyone. The writing's been on the wall for years. If you've been paying attention to Microsoft's developer blogs or IT pro announcements, you know that WMIC has been living on borrowed time for over a decade. This is really just the final step in a very long, very intentional process. I mean, just take a look at this timeline. This whole journey started way back in 2012. That's when Microsoft first started nudging everyone towards PowerShell. Then, boom, 2016, it's deprecated in Windows Server. Then 2021 in Windows 10. In 2022, it became an optional feature on demand. And now, here we are, seeing the final stages. So yeah, this has been a super slow sunset, not some sudden switch being flipped. Okay, so the big question is, why? Why is Microsoft going through all this trouble to get rid of a tool that, let's be honest, tons of people still use? Well, when you pop the hood and look at the why, the reasons are actually pretty compelling.
It really all boils down to three main things: security, maintainability, and modernization. Look, WMIC is from a different time. It represents an older way of doing things, and it's carrying a lot of old baggage from a completely different era of computing, especially when it comes to security.
So the old way WMIC connects to other machines is this thing called DCOM, which uses RPC. Now the huge problem here is the ports. It kicks off a conversation on port 135, and then it just jumps to some random high-numbered port to finish the chat. I mean, if you're a network admin, can you imagine trying to manage that? A program that uses a gigantic random range of ports? It's a total firewall nightmare.
Now, contrast that with the modern way, WinRM. It's based on an industry standard called WS Management, and it basically behaves just like predictable web traffic. It uses standard HTTP or HTTPS ports, think 5985 or 5986, which are a breeze for firewalls to handle. And, this is the big one, all the traffic is encrypted right out of the box.
Here's a really good way to picture this. Think of DCOM and RPC as this messy network of old, unmarked country roads. There are tons of intersections, it's a pain for security to patrol, and you never really know which path the traffic is going to take. But WinRM, that's a modern superhighway. It's secure, it's efficient, and it has these standard, well-marked exits that your firewall can easily manage. When you actually put them side by side like this, the difference is just stark, right? You look at the protocol type, RPC versus standard HTTP. The firewall ports, random high ports versus two standard ones. The security, less secure versus encrypted by default. I mean, in every single category, WinRM is the hands-down winner for any modern network. This table really spells out exactly why Microsoft is so eager to move on from this old DCOM stuff.
All right, so if WMIC is on its way out, what are we supposed to use instead? This is probably the biggest point of confusion out there, so let's get this cleared up right now.
Okay, listen up, because this is the single most important thing to get straight in your head. WMI is not the same thing as WMIC. Let me say that again. WMI is not WMIC. The underlying infrastructure, WMI, that massive database of all your system's information, that is not going anywhere. It's just the command line tool we use to talk to it, WMIC.exe, that's getting the boot.
So the successor, the new kid on the block, is a set of commands inside PowerShell known as the SIM-CMDlets. Now, SIM stands for Common Information Model, and the key thing here is that it's an industry standard. That means the skills you learn with these tools are way more portable.
These CMDlets are the modern, the secure, and honestly, that much more powerful way to interact with that WMI infrastructure we were just talking about.
So if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this command: get sim instance. That's it. This is your new workhorse. It's the PowerShell version of most of what used to do with WMIC, and trust me, it's going to become your new muscle memory.
Okay, great. So we know what's changing, and we know why. Now we get to the really important part. What do you actually need to do about it? Let's walk through a practical playbook.
And the process here is pretty much a classic IT project plan. Nothing too crazy. Step 1, inventory. You got to hunt down every single place you're using WMIC.exe. We're talking scripts, scheduled tasks, monitoring tools, everything. Step 2, convert. Rewrite those old commands using the new PowerShell Sim CMDlets. Then, of course, you test everything, you run a small pilot, and finally, you roll out the changes to your whole organization.
And the good news is that for most of the common stuff, the conversion is super straightforward. Think of this as your cheat sheet. That old muscle memory command to get a serial number, it just becomes get-sim-instance win32_BIOS select serial number. Listing disks, listing processes, they all follow pretty much the same pattern. And for something like listing hotfixes, there's even a slicker, dedicated command now, get-hotfix. This right here is your new Rosetta Stone for system queries.
But what about those old legacy scripts? You know, the ancient batch files you can't just completely rewrite overnight? Well, you can actually call PowerShell directly from inside your old .bat file using a simple wrapper. It's a fantastic bridge solution to get you by. And super important, don't forget to check in with your third-party vendors. A lot of management agents and monitoring tools have been relying on WMIC for years, so you've got to make sure you're running updated versions that don't need it anymore.
Okay, let's just zoom out for a second, because this change is about way more than just one command line tool. It really represents a bigger, more philosophical shift in how Windows itself is managed.
By getting rid of WIC, Microsoft is basically drawing a line in the sand. They're saying the future is programmatic, it's object-oriented, and it's built on modern, secure protocols. PowerShell isn't just a simple replacement here, it's a genuine upgrade that lets you do way more complex and way more reliable automation than WMIC could ever dream of.
And, you know, this quote from another admin on Reddit just says it all perfectly. Some tech is just dead, and you have to accept it before you get into a hole. It's so true. Trying to hang on to this old tech just creates bigger problems for you down the road. Microsoft gave us more than a decade of warning on this one. So accepting this change and getting your scripts migrated now, it's not just about fixing something that's about to break. It's about staying ahead of the curve and keeping your whole environment secure.
So this all leaves us with one last, really critical question to think about. The end of WMIC is what we call a forcing function. It's forcing us to change. And that's actually a great opportunity to step back and reevaluate your entire automation strategy. So ask yourself, what other old legacy dependencies are just lurking in your environment? Because now is the time to find them, before they find you.